All right, welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, still coming to you live from the Corona Bunker Studios, still well fortified, got plenty of stuff to drink at least this week, and we're going to need a lot of drinking to get through some of the craziness in our headlines. Most importantly, on Money Monday, we talk to you about what's happening with your portfolio and what's happening with your money. As we left off on Friday, I had hoped that the market would close above 25,000. A close below that would have been very bad news this morning. Just barely got in there with 25,014 or something. And as we come into this Monday morning, there is a little bit of a bounce off that 25,000 support. Dow up 300 today, but there continues to be the continuing din from the left-wing media. There's spikes everywhere, Arizona, Texas, Florida. We need face masks, we need federal mandates, all this other stuff. And the bottom line is, as I continue to tell you, I heard some on the left-wing media today starting to say what we're going to need to do is a total shutdown. So it does seem like some states with our left-wing governors, we may face another shutdown, and that will have terrible effects on your portfolio. So stay very nimble there. Bitcoin dipped below 9,000, which was a little bit scary. Did recover a little bit, up at 9,100 today. I continue to talk about cryptocurrency as the new economy, place you want to be involved if you want your portfolio to have a full, diverse opportunity for long-term growth. And look, I'm not a financial advisor. I tell you, I've been buying Bitcoin since 2014, and I made a purchase as recent as October when Bitcoin was 8,000. So I continue to think that this is probably one of the greatest things you could have in your portfolio for the long term. Go into it expecting that you could lose every single penny, and your expectations will be set well. I keep talking about how there's such a hypocrisy out there in the world, and these fellas who got killed by cops, George Floyd in Minnesota, the guy in Atlanta, many felonies, many arrests, much stuff on their records, and they've all both at least become elevated to this place of golden caskets and wings painted on their shoulders and halos over their head. And I get it. And I'm totally down that cops got to stop killing minorities and treating them differently. I'm down with that. But, I did a little trick on some of my friends at my country club, and predominantly white guys, and I read off a list of crimes that some fictional person named Jim Smith had committed. And, some of the crimes that this guy Jim Smith had committed were under the influence of fentanyl, jailed 5 times, drug abuse, criminal trespass, aggravated robbery, breaking and entering, kidnapping, pointing a gun at a pregnant woman looking for drugs and money. And most of the guys said, and then that guy went on to unfortunately get killed by a cop. He probably shouldn't have got killed. And many people thought, well, you know what? I couldn't care what color that guy was. He shouldn't be walking around society, maybe, if he's that horrible. And, when I tell them it's George Floyd, it's almost baffling to people that we have actually entered an era where great people like Christopher Columbus, who was the explorer who found our country, Teddy Roosevelt, widely acclaimed as one of the finest presidents of all time, men with great and real accomplishments are having statues and tributes to them torn down. I'm going to talk to Fernando Uribe right after this about the Christopher Columbus statue in Newark that the mayor sneakily tried to pull down in the middle of the night. And at the same time, the fight for injustice and police brutality is great, but deifying people that have had a tough past, you get it one way or the other, not both, as far as I'm concerned. Quick break. Fernando Uribe coming up right after this.
5, 4, 3, 2.
On Money Monday, we bring on the money guest. This guy's on the money every single week, checking in with us from the Garden State, Fernando Uribe. He's a PhD. He's the host of Politically Direct on Insider NJ, faculty member at Bergen Community College. Fernando, thank you for joining us today. I know we have a number of things to talk about, but I want to ask you about something timely. I heard the head of the local Italian-American Society in New Jersey on the radio this morning talking about how he checked with the mayor of Newark if they were going to pull down the Columbus statue, and they were going to barricade themselves and try to block them. And the mayor told them no, and they had a sneaky suspicion that he was lying. They went there and guarded the thing at night, and sure enough, the mayor had ordered his people to come in and take the darn thing down. How bad is this, that the mayor is actually lying to his constituents and trying to pull down a Columbus statue in the thick of night?
Well, first of all, John, thanks for having me back on again. I love being on Money Monday. This is a story that I've been covering on my podcast here in New Jersey. Also, I'll be talking about on my live show tonight. It's such a disservice that Mayor Ross Baraka is doing in sort of caving to this mob culture that's overwhelming us right now when it comes to political correctness and everything else that's really involving identity politics, Shaun. And it's really disappointing to see that he did this to such an active community, because for anyone that knows their history, especially about New Jersey and more specifically in Newark, we know that there's always been a very strong Italian-American presence there going back almost half a century. And we know that once those monuments were erected half a century ago, we know that the Italian community has been very invested in Newark. They've never left. And for whatever reason, Mayor Ross Baraka seems to be caving in to Black Lives Matter and all these other sort of social justice movements in taking these statues down. I mean, John, it's fascinating to me and also sort of irritating that a guy that passed away in 1506, like statues of him are still triggering people over 500 years later after his death. It's mind-boggling to me, John.
It is pretty crazy to me, and I just don't understand if they have a point, which is, social justice, income inequality, whatever the number of points are, and I agree with a lot of them. I don't know how going back to Christopher Columbus actually helps anything other than it's ticking off a bunch of Italian guys, which is probably bad news. And I'm actually going to try to call this guy Ross Baraka today and find out, what caused him to do this. But more importantly, we continue here on Liquid Lunch. We're broadcast on Biz TV, which goes to 40 million homes across America on different local cable affiliates and over the air. But we also have a quite fun social media audience on Facebook, and they keep clipping out my sound. They won't let us promote the podcast. They keep rejecting our boosts. And I actually signed up for Parler, and I know Parler is the new place where the cool kids are going to start hanging out, from what I understand.
Absolutely. And this was a story that broke last week in the Wall Street Journal. And one of the biggest complaints that the Trump administration has had about social media is its blatant anti-conservative bias, not only with Facebook, but more importantly, Twitter. And it's such a refreshing, sight for me to see that over 1 million new users have joined Parler. And again, when I think about what Mr. Motz has done, the CEO of Parler, in the way that he's promoted this platform, I think is absolutely commendable. When we talk about entrepreneurial, this is as good as it gets, John. When we talk about trying to encompass more of a following on social media, and it's not just for conservatives. I mean, Mr. Motz has also been trying to encourage liberals to join Parler as well, because as we know, Twitter does censor conservative speech. I've had some tweets of mine flagged because I've retweeted tweets from the president, from his son, from other conservative commentators, and you'd be surprised how getting those notifications are absolutely irritating, but more and more Americans are going to Parler, and I think that's a good thing as this election season heats up.
So, I don't know if you saw, but last week I had to terminate Nico temporarily for throwing me in the pool. I don't know if you were watching that day, but I
was aware, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, and I'm okay with poking fun at myself. So we cut it into a little video, and we titled it "Conservative News Host Thrown in Pool." And I figured that would be funny. Maybe even some liberals would get a laugh out of seeing a Trump guy get thrown in the pool by his producer. And they flagged it as political content. because it said conservative news host. They didn't even look at it that the host was being humiliated. So I joined Parler. I'm still trying to figure it out if they have the capacity like Facebook to do live streaming, like the stuff we're doing with the Facebook audience. But because on my show, we've had Democrats and Republicans on all the time for the last year. So I want a good, healthy debate. I want conversation. It seems like all the work they do to filter out is all one-sided on Facebook. Maybe Parler will be at least a good objective place.
I would agree with you. And one of the things that really interests me about Parler, it's very easy to use. It's easy to navigate for people that maybe aren't very savvy with social media or technology overall. And again, it's refreshing just to see alternatives, John. I mean, listen, all we talk about, right, in the marketplace is competition, right? I mean, that's sort of one of the basic dimensions of capitalism is you want the free market system to prevail. And I think that's what's happening right now. Is it going to sort of overcome Twitter in this election season in less than, 120 days? Probably not, but we're getting more of a following. And that's a good thing for political discussions, John.
No, it certainly is. And, look, if it becomes an echo chamber, if you only have the voice on one side going through the whole thing, people lose interest. It's not good content. But tell me what's going on. You're a faculty member over at Bergen Community College. And our last couple of minutes here, I know that students seem to be in a really tough predicament here. They got to pay these crazy student loans, but some of them are not even sure if they're going to get on campus.
Absolutely. And this is one of the biggest problems, not just that New Jersey's facing, but every state around the country, John, as the fall semester is quickly approaching. And we know that for millions of students, including myself, I'm still paying back my loans from graduate school. I mean, temporarily, the CARES Act, which, again, allows federal student loans to be postponed until September. That is such a welcome sight for so many students in this country, but it still doesn't solve the overwhelming problem of the student loan debt and the crisis that's sort of overcoming our economy. We know that many states, including New Jersey, are still waiting for a federal bailout, which I commend the president for not doing to New Jersey and New York, because they've been both fiscally irresponsible for many years. And to think that they should just be bailed out because they asked for it, I think is reckless on their part. But more importantly, it puts students in a very precarious position because coming up for the fall, they don't know whether or not they should A, register, and B, whether or not they should accept either their subsidized or unsubsidized loans that they'll be getting via the federal government or even from private banks. And again, my heart goes out to them because I know that right now I'm not struggling to pay them, but it's a reasonable amount. But not everybody is as fortunate as me. And I've been trying to be an advocate here in New Jersey for students on my social media platforms to ask for accountability of our elected officials. I mean, the CARES Act is not enough. What is the federal government doing to provide more additional relief for our students or for people that are paying back their loans? John, again, I'm not saying sort of forgive student aid overall because I think that could be catastrophic to the bubble itself, but something has to happen at the federal level to provide a relief that I think that so many millions of Americans are in dire need of.
Yep, it sounds like a plan. Honestly, I got, starting in September, 2 kids in college, and there's a very good chance that both may be remote. So, it turns into like one of these online classes, but, both Marist and Wagner College are well above $40,000 a year. And I may have my 2 daughters in their bedrooms taking their college curriculum. So,
and John, I'm sorry, and you're still paying a full tuition. It's not like these universities are going to give you a discount for remote learning, and they're still going to charge you every fee possible. They're going to charge you every possible amenity that the college university enacts on their students, and it's just unfair.
No doubt about it. All right, we're going to have to leave it there. We got to jump right now. Fernando Uribe, thank you so much. Check him out tonight on Insider NJ, Politically Direct, and his podcast is really taking off. Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
John.
All right, that's Fernando Uribe. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some more news of the day right after this.
Welcome back, folks. I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes. How's it working? I'm still corona free.
Could you even wipe your fake tan off?
Well, that's because that's not a fake tan. That's a real tan.
This November, and Democrats don't want to see it, at least establishment ones. It seems like they're trying to sort of
Against weed, but four guns, right? There's all these different, and to me the palette is the middle, there's different shades of purple, and that's who's going to decide this election. Right?
Wine's kicking in.
There you go.
It's just gonna work out after this.
30 seconds.
Right.
Your cue is you look for my 2 minutes. When I say 2 minutes left in the segment, you're filming the next guy up.
You know what I'm saying? That I spew out.
3, 2, 1, bump. Quiet on set, please.
I was talking a little earlier about this crazy stuff going on that, we've lost Uncle Ben. We've lost Aunt Jemima. Now there is, and as an ode to Aunt Jemima, until I run out, I'm keeping good old Aunt Jemima syrup, the last of what I have left in my house. I'm keeping it close to me in case the food police come and start trying to revoke the old bottles of Aunt Jemima. So I'm keeping that close. And I've also been fooling around about this guy because I'm half Irish and, I have some friends that are Irish that look up to this guy, pun intended. But no, I'm thinking maybe they may come after the Lucky Charms guy. You know what I mean? Because it seems like all these fictional characters are getting eliminated. And, Uncle Ben's rice is gone, the Eskimo pies are gone, all these food things that have Land O'Lakes butter lady, she's sitting in the Zen position like this, she's gone. And I've been fooling around saying that this guy may be under attack, the Lucky Charms guy, okay? And lo and behold, it's happened. Word out yesterday that after this month, the Lucky Charms leprechaun that we've all grown to know and love, the magically delicious guy, has been replaced, and by none other than this guy. He is on the giant-sized box, and this guy has become known as kind of like a symbol of humor when he's not getting replaced by that guy. Okay, I'm joking, of course, but that's just one in a boatload of many memes that have surfaced during Corona, and I happen to think that this one guy has brought more smiles and laughter to people's faces over this whole quarantine period than anyone. And it may be a neck-and-neck race with him and Joe Exotic, because Joe Exotic was the hot new craze in the beginning with the big tiger cats and but this guy has held true. He's held steady, and he's also been compared to he's known as the man bigger than the meme. He's also been, in great settings like The Last Supper. You've seen this guy, okay? And, a lot of good stuff has gone out there, okay? I want to tell you something about this guy. When they're ripping down statues and they're holding people up to this new standard, people who were criminals and felons, and they're all of a sudden being lionized and turned into saints. This man hit this meme rose with the coronavirus, and it's known as wood sitting on a bed. And we've all been tricked into seeing this photo once or twice, and I kind of still, when I see somebody do something creative with it, I still crack up laughing because it's kind of just like a creative thing, as far as I see it. It turns out that this man is deceased, okay? And his name is Wardy, W-A-R-D, Jobert III, okay? Had a tremendous athletic background, was a great baseball player, became known as the Wood because he used to hit the ball so hard with the wooden bat that they started calling him the Wood. It turns out this guy, he's deceased, okay? You didn't hear anything about him passing because he died long before he rose to internet fame. The things that you don't know about this young African-American man who obviously died too soon, he was a deacon at his church. His stepmother said he would go out every week and give away food to people. His pastor at his church talks about him as someone, he was like the mayor of the town. Everyone loved him. And he was going through some very, very tough financial times, okay? and a friend of his or someone he knew from his gym who shot pornographic photos asked him if he wanted to make some extra money because he knew his house was being foreclosed on. So he took that photo in 2010. He was a straight guy, understood the desperation of the situation, said, fine, I'll take some pictures, I'll get some money, maybe help my family and everything else. He's turned into, you know, to me, a symbol of a way to get a few minutes of laughter in the whole Corona thing. And, you know, not that we want to build a statue to the wood or anything, but behind the wood was quite the man, and his stepmom and his sister and his ex and many of his family members talk about him wonderfully in a new piece out by Vice. And you want to check out Vice for some real good news. And we're trying to get the author who wrote that article also. We're going to take a quick break and have more wood for you right after this.
Most financially successful people own assets that make them money while they sleep. They usually own real estate, vehicles, intellectual property, equipment, and more. These assets make passive income through leases, subscriptions, royalties, and fees that don't require time, energy, or attention. Your assets do the work, and you collect the check. So what kind of asset should you buy? The most valuable companies in the world, like Amazon, Google, and Apple, all have the same thing in common. They make a majority of their revenue from data technology assets, storing, collecting, processing, and providing data. It's all about the data. What if you could own data tech assets with a low upfront cost? Introducing Apex, a proprietary technology built to process and mine data and render artificial intelligence and 3D gaming at exceptionally high rates. Apex Tech has partnered with SafeTech, a subsidiary of a publicly traded company called InvestView. SafeTech's business model leverages Apex technology to disrupt the multi-trillion-dollar data tech industry, giving you the competitive advantage. SafeTech's growth strategy is to capture a significant share of the market. SafeTech will enter into a 60-month lease with owners of Apex systems. Why would they do that? Why not just buy all the equipment themselves? The same reason most companies lease instead of own, to scale quickly without the upfront costs and for the tax benefits. So how do you get started? You purchase an Apex system. Then you can lease it to SafeTech for 60 months at a rate of $500 per month. That's a total of $30,000 paid to you over the life of the lease. So what's your responsibility besides purchasing the Apex system? Nothing. During the lease, SafeTech is responsible for any maintenance costs to keep things running for you. Just collect a check every month for the next 60 months. This tremendous financial opportunity positions you to follow the strategies of the financially successful. You can leverage data technology to produce passive income that generates revenue without your time, energy, or effort. This is what is meant by creating multiple streams of income. But the opportunity to participate will not last forever. If this concept fits your financial goals, take action today while you still have the chance.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
All right, welcome back. It's Money Monday on Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, coming to you live as we do every single day from the Corona Bunker Studios in New York City, right? We're right here in Staten Island, New York, and we are reduced these days from a beautiful, luxurious television studio in Lower Manhattan on Broadway. Big news out of New York City today is that all Broadway shows have been canceled till the end of 2020, which may spell doom for us returning to the Liquid Lunch Studios, which happen to be on Broadway. My mother was very proud of me that I made it to Broadway, and it looks like for the time being we'll be here in the bunker. We bring on the best guests on Monday, the money guests I call them, because it's Money Monday. And joining us today, rejoining us again, a friend of the show, Karen Turk, joins us. She's a former Mrs. Florida, activist, political commentator, and her big show now is Behind the Headlines. Karen, you were on with us, I guess, a week or two ago. We were talking about Behind the Headlines and how you were doing an in-depth investigation into the history of the Black Lives Matter movement. What do you have to report to us? I've been talking about this too, but I know you really dig in deep.
I've been digging in, and you got to follow the money. That's the name of the game here, and it's an appropriate topic for Money Monday because you just got to follow the money, and it all trickles down to one guy, and that guy is George Soros, the Prince of Darkness. And in his usual fashion, he's manipulating the media for political gain, and that's why we're here. And it's unfortunate for all these people that are out there thinking there's being social justice warriors. The truth is they're backing a very, very dark agenda right now.
So most of these people, you know, where I live here in New York City, and I live in a, you know, outer borough, Staten Island, you know, more Caucasian than some of the other boroughs, but certainly a united community. And there were a lot of protests here, and there were a lot of white kids that were out there, and white people out there joining black, white, you know, Latino, and it was peaceful here, right? But a lot of these kids don't even realize they're just pawns in a big game of 3D chess that's going on. And George Soros is kind of the puppet master moving the pieces around the board, right?
He is. He's the puppet master. He's been doing this for a long time. And I think our memory is kind of short. You know, this goes back to 2013 when Black Lives Matter started trending as a hashtag. And that's really how the movement started. And if you look at the history, by 2015, George Soros and the Open Society Foundations committed $650,000 to BLM. They really are behind this movement. He really is the puppet master. And his agenda is not about social justice. And that's why I feel for these people that are out there that think that they're supporting a charitable cause, that they're doing the right thing, that they're standing up for their neighbor. They don't realize that what George Soros's mission is to conquer and divide. And they're buying right into that. They're following along to someone who has a really evil agenda behind this all. And, you know, by 2016, which happened to be an election year, again, our memory is fleeting, he was contributing $100 million to BLM. So really, BLM is a George Soros movement. It's not about Black lives. And that's the part that's really sad in all of this. You know, the one thing we should be able to unite on is that we're all Americans. And this man wants to tear us apart. And by supporting this movement and supporting Black Lives Matter, unfortunately, you're playing into his hand.
No doubt about it. Hey, Karen, I reported on a story a couple weeks back when the big protests were going on in New York that two well-educated attorneys were arrested for throwing Molotov cocktails into a police car. And when they were arrested, you know, one of them in particular was with Ropes and Gray, which is a very prominent liberal law firm and, you know, based all around the world. But the woman who showed up was an attorney from Ropes and Gray to bail them out. And her name was, I forget her first name, last name was Rizvi. And it turns out that she had received the George and Daisy Soros scholarship to come into the U.S. as some kind of exchange student, went on to work in the Obama State Department and other positions in the Obama. And here is a connection between George Soros Foundation and Obama stepping up to bail out two people who threw a Molotov cocktail in a police car. Are there more connections like that you found?
Yeah, these people are anarchists, and some of them don't even know that they're anarchists. You know, they are paying protesters, and we can call it a tangled web where the money isn't directly going from George Soros's hand into the protesters' pocket, but they use these political action committees and voters groups, and they bring in people who have absolutely no idea the agenda that they're supporting, and they bring them in through temp agencies. They find them. Some of these people are homeless. They're offered a job. They're offered 20 or 30 bucks an hour to go out and hand out petitions or be activists. And they take these activist positions. These are liberal paid actors. And if you watch my video, my latest expose on George Soros on Behind the Headlines TV on YouTube, you'll see that I confronted one of these paid protesters. And as soon as I started to insert logic, and he called me a racist and told me that I support the Jim Crow laws. And I recited the Jim Crow laws. And when he had nothing else to say, he said, you know, I'm just trying to make a paycheck and leave me alone. And that's the reality, is these people are desperate. They're out there. They're hungry for a paycheck, and they don't even know what agenda they're supporting. They're just as much pawns in the game as people who are out there thinking that they're supporting social justice when unfortunately they're being manipulated.
So if people go to Behind the Headlines on YouTube TV, there's a very recent video there of you where you actually caught one of these protesters on tape admitting that he was getting paid to protest, right?
Yeah, and there's more to come. I've confronted quite a few of these people. I actually confronted some too at the voting polls last election, and we found some that were there on behalf of the Democratic Party that have been hired in local temp agencies, and some of them weren't even registered Democrats. They were independents. They weren't even there. They weren't there to support the agenda. They were there because they were collecting a paycheck, and you got to follow the money, and that's what this is about. And George Soros has advertising in his hand through the mainstream media because he's got huge dollars, and he's also got the ability to hire these paid protesters in a very tangled web. So the money's not going direct. It's going through the grants his foundation provides. And here we are in 2020, and paid protesters are very, very real.
So there's also this other organization out there called Open Society, which is another tricky wing of the Soros, what should I call them, as a potpourri of companies that have all these fake names upon them, but they all basically turn into this big web of deceit. And Open Societies, George Soros is using that to infiltrate a lot of local municipal elections. They're going paying young kids to go hand out leaflets and collect, ballots. And these kids, they think they're doing something good by this, by these charitable organizations. They don't realize that all that money is really getting turned around and recycled into anarchy.
Anarchy is the word, and he's got $52.6 million allocated for 2020, just in time for election season. And that is going to be used for one thing and one thing only, and that's to rig this next election. This is for a democratic, socialist, globalist agenda that he's pushing, and it's against the American people, and it's against moderate Democrats. Even moderate Democrats don't want this, but they buy into the narrative. They're manipulated by the media, and here we are because he's got big dollars to spend. But he is the puppet master, no question about it. It's one guy, and it's George Soros.
So how much deeper will you go, Karen? We need to know more.
I'm going to go really deep. I mean, the deep state is real, and it's alive, and there's going to be a lot more to come. I'm going to do more on this topic. There's a lot of other corruption that needs to be exposed. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. And that's why we need Behind the Headlines TV, because I got to dig in deep, because a lot of this stuff is not surface level. It's a tangled web that's been woven. And you know that saying, what a tangled web we weave when first we try to deceive. And that's really what's happening here, and they're succeeding.
Yeah, well, I think the American people overall are smarter about it. There was a perfect set of circumstances here. People were locked in their house for so long, and then there was this, the left-wing media blew up this, police brutality, which is an issue that needs to be addressed. But, I feel like Soros really hijacked it, and, Donald Trump is operating against so many forces on top of one of the richest guys in the world. Makes his life harder every day, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And this way, Joe Biden doesn't have to speak. If they focus on the chaos, they can keep him quiet. Nobody's going to realize that he really can't be president.
That's for sure.
And that's how they're going to keep the Democrats in the dark right now.
All right, Karen, thank you so much. For those of you watching at home,
thank you.
I know you like watching Liquid Lunch, but just take a look at my guest here. You're going to have a much more pleasurable experience and learn a lot if you go to Behind the Headlines TV on YouTube. Check out her in-depth interviews, and you'll hear for yourself that these protesters, many of them are getting paid. That's Karen Turk. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Vince Everett Ellison right after this. All right, welcome back. It's a Money Monday on Liquid Lunch, and our guests have been on the money. Your money's on the money because the market's up almost 400, still below the 26,000 number. We need to just creep up above 26, and that's another support level, which could be a good sign. I still think there's a lot of downward pressure in the market, so stay careful and nimble on the markets because there's going to be a lot of shucking and jiving going on, I can tell you that. Vince Everett Ellison is supposed to join us in just a few, but I've been talking today about these comparisons between, you know, it may sound crazy, but, you know, the big black guy in the meme that gets shared all over the place, and he's in all different kinds of settings, right down to the Last Supper. But the guy passed in 2016, okay? And it turns out he was actually a good guy. He wasn't a porn star or anything. He was in a bad time, getting foreclosed on his house, and a friend who took porno shots asked him if he wanted to take some photos and he can get some money to help pay his bills, pay his family. So as a straight guy, he did it to make some extra money. It turns out, you know, he was heavy duty in his church. He was a great family man. He was an unbelievable athlete. He's in the Semi-Pro Football Hall of Fame. And, you know, a guy like that, Vice News reported on this recently, and I've been just uncovering a little bit. His family, I think they came up short like $1,500 for a headstone for him. And then you got, you know, other GoFundMes, so like George Floyd's family, where he's got $15 and $20 million. So, you know, no one deserves to be dead. But I think the Wood meme guy probably brought a smile to a lot of people's faces. You know what makes me even more mad? That when you have these politicians like Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer standing up there on their high horse and they're kneeling down with the kentes on, which was roundly rebuked by most African-American leaders, you know, just photo op after photo op, and they're standing on their high horse talking about all this crap and everything else. Let me show you how important George Floyd really is to these Democratic leaders like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Take a look at this.
George's daughter, that his name will be always remembered. This legislation is worthy of George Kirby's name.
For the families of Floyd Taylor, George Taylor.
Nancy Pelosi called him George Kirby. George Kirby, not his name, and she was talking about how she told his daughter that his name will be always remembered as George Kirby. I don't know, what did Charles Schumer call him? Floyd Taylor. Floyd Taylor is what Charles Schumer referred to George Floyd. So you got George Kirby and Floyd Taylor. So between Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer, you got George Kirby Floyd Taylor. That's the name. I guess if you eliminate the Kirby and the Taylor, you have a George Floyd. But these are two of the biggest voices in our political system, the head of Congress, Nancy Pelosi, and the minority leader of the Senate, Charles Schumer. And they can't even get the guy's name down. But the whole world, the whole country is under attack. There's autonomous zones. These occupiers are back in New York City. They're occupying City Hall. Like, stuff is out of control. And it would be nice if the leaders who are supposed to be at the forefront of this kept their eye on the ball on what's really important. If it's supposed to be about the man who started the movement, maybe they should get his name down instead of calling him George Kirby and Floyd Taylor. I don't even know where you would get Floyd Taylor out of George Floyd. It doesn't even make sense. But, you know, Charles Schumer's a pretty wacky guy. That's for sure. We'll have Jim Quick here, and he's a world-renowned expert in speed reading, which I need because I got all these books around. People send me, and I'm supposed to read them, and I just flip through the inside cover and try to pick out a couple of lines. I would love to learn how to speed read. We're going to ask Jimmy Quick on some tricks how you can speed up your reading and your comprehension. We're going to miss you for just like maybe a minute here. And then we're going to flip it around, come back top of the hour, news of the day with JT and you right after this. Last week I was talking about how Malik Obama, Barack Obama's actual brother, his legitimate brother, had posted what appeared to be a Nigerian birth certificate for Barack Obama. And, you know, Frank Morano said that it was a hoax and everything else. So, as I always do, I put the team on the lead to try to track down Malik Obama and get him to come on the show. And, you know, it's kind of weird. If you're a news show, you don't pay people to come on, okay? Because then if I'm paying you, I'm not going to ask you the hard-hitting questions because I'm paying you. So it's like not news then. It's, you know, more of a puff piece. And for some reason, this Malik Obama guy responds to us. Now, we want real news. If it's real, the guy should want to spread the word. He's not great friends with his brother, Barry Obama Sotero. But, you know, news is news, and I'd like to break it. So Nico reaches out to him, and the team reaches out to him. And take a look at this. This is what we sent to him. Hey, Malik, this is Nico at Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'd love to get you on Liquid Lunch live this week. Zoom video chat, discuss everything going on with the riots, protests, being retweeted by President Trump. If you're interested in talking about it, send me your email. I'll follow up with more details. This guy writes back, yes, I would, but please donate a small sum, $1,500, to my foundation at PayPal, Barack H. Obama Foundation.org. So note to those of you who want to come on the show, we don't pay people. And if you have legitimate news, Malik Obama, about, you know, former U.S. President Barry Obama, send it to us. Talk to us about it. We don't pay $1,500. And by the way, in the middle of quarantine, who says $1,500 is a small amount? And is it a real foundation even? I mean, Malik Obama should come on here and answer these questions himself and not send a news program a demand for $1,500 like it's some kind of ransom or something. So anyway, that's all for Malik Obama. And thank you again, all our new viewers. I love you guys. And Reddit, which started out, you may not even know what Reddit is. It's, you know, it's one of these sites where you can have these long conversations. They have chats and strings and all this other stuff. And there is a subreddit on one of the largest social network and message board sites. They banned their biggest community devoted to President Trump. Okay, the community or subreddit called _Donald, home to more than 790,000 users, post memes, viral videos, and supportive messages. Reddit executives said the group, which is influential in cultivating and stoking Trump's base, has consistently broken its rules by allowing people to target and harass others with hate speech. So Reddit now jumping in on the cause, and they were pretty libertarian at one point, Reddit, but it seems like they're on the Zuckerberg train now. And the Donald, which has been a digital foundation for Trump supporters, is by far the most active and prominent community. For years, many of the most viral Trump memes broke through to Facebook, Twitter, and elsewhere could be tracked back to the Donald. One video, The Trump Effect, originated on the Donald in 2016 before bubbling up to Trump, who tweeted it to his 83 million followers. So another one bites the dust. I am doing some homework here on Parler, which is this new social media site that's starting to emerge, and it's an objective site. They don't do any, you know, they don't do any work at editing people and blocking people and stuff. A lot of Trump supporters are going to Parler, P-A-R-L-E-R, Parler. I'm not fully set up there, but I'm working on it. And we're working on a great show, and we're going to continue with that right after this. Take a quick break, more Liquid Lunch in just 2 minutes. Yay! Hello, Facebook. How are you? And we're waiting for Jimmy Quick to join us any minute now. Adrian's on Facebook. Becky Baker is there.
I'm going to reset the audio real quick, John. No one's going to be able to hear you for a second.
All right, we're doing a quick audio reset. Sit right there. Don't go anywhere. We got to do a little technical. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Do you want to talk to Jim?
Sure.
He's in. Say hi.
Jim Quick, how are you?
Doing well. Who's this?
This is John Tobacco.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. Appreciate having you. I am in possession of not one but 2 copies of your book.
Okay. We just want to make sure you got it.
I wanted to, oh yes, I have it. And I wanted to go through some of the amazing endorsements in the beginning of your book, which are quite amazing, might I add. But also see if there's any layman's tips you can give us so that I can read the book lickety-split.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get started, this is not live, right?
This is live.
Oh, we are going live.
Yes, right now we're in commercial. Our conversations are on Facebook during commercials. We're live just on social. But in just about 2 minutes, we will be live on Biz TV. Yes, live television. And after the segment, a little later on today, somebody on the team will send you a link so you can use it for your social media and you can spread it around.
Is this video or just audio?
No, you're not going to see me, but this is video. This is television.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
The audience will see you, but the way we're set up here in my...
You won't be able to see John, our host, but we see you.
Yeah, the audience sees you and I see you. It's just the way I have the studio Jimmy rigged in my house. You can't see. You can't.
Completely great and amazing.
90 seconds.
I was under the... we could talk about, John, some things people could do while they're quarantined if you want to make their thing and anything. How long are we going for approximately? So
this is about 10 minutes.
Okay. Then we'll go wherever you want to go.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in like in our final minute or our final 2 minutes. I'll give you some placeholder towards the end so you can start to concisely end your remarks. I'll let you know when there's like a minute to 2 minutes left. Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate you if you can mention of the book. It was an instant.
I have the book prominently displayed on my desk as we're speaking right now, and
amazing.
I will do as much as I often do for my friends who are authors to promote it.
Much appreciation, John.
You got it.
30 seconds. Seconds. 10, 9, 8.
So, welcome back. We're having a great day today. It is a Money Monday, and your money is in good hands with the Dow up over 400 points. Bitcoin holding its own, still above 9,000, but a little troubled territory the last few days. We'll keep an eye on that. You also have Venmo and Cash App, 2 of the biggest electronic money transfer systems on your phone, saying that they are going to get into the Bitcoin business. So there's probably some good news going on out there in cryptocurrency. Now, we're building new viewers and new audience members every day. I get tons of feedback, and I love getting it. Keep it coming. And remember, you know, a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do 2 hours every day? How do you remember all this stuff? And what are you talking about? You must have a teleprompter. I don't have a teleprompter. I got some notes that my team works very hard to give me. I usually ignore most of them, but they still put all the work in. And, you know, it's hard starting to drink alcohol at noon every single day. My show is Liquid Lunch, and one of the tricks we did was in studio, we usually gave the guests a couple drinks before they came on, and it made for quite the entertaining television. But by the end of 2 hours, I have a hard time remembering stuff. I've already had a few cocktails. Right now I'm doing White Claws to go easy because I had a rough weekend. But, you know, a guy who is, they call him the brain coach to the stars joins us now. Jim Quick is with us, who's kind enough to send me over a copy of his recent book, Limitless. Upgrade your brain, learn anything faster, and unlock your exceptional life. And Jim, thanks for joining us. He's a New York Times bestseller, and I need help on all 3 of these points from you.
I appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me on, and thank you everyone who's tuning in. Let's talk about improving your memory.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to get into like how you do this and stuff. They call you the brain coach to the stars. I got the book. I started going through it, and the first thing I noticed in the very beginning is there's, you know, a potpourri of mega superstars commending you for the great work you do. A-Rod. You got Steve Aoki, you got Maria Menounos, you got Novak Djokovic, you got Tracy Anderson's there, Max Lukavir. I mean, it goes Stan Lee, Quincy Jones. How did you turn, and Will Smith, of course, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air says, Jim Quick knows how to get maximum out of me as a human being. How do you uncover your limitless powers that you could affect such world-renowned people?
That's a great question. I believe that those people who are already incredibly successful, they subscribe to a philosophy that if they work hard, if they are continuously learning, that they could achieve great things. And my specialty, my superpower, if you will, is helping people to upgrade their brains so they can learn anything faster, which I think is one of the most important skills to get good at in the 21st century, our ability to learn, to earn, so we have more to return, to upgrade the most important technology which we're born with, which is our brain. The challenge is our brain doesn't come with an owner's manual. It's not always user friendly. So I wrote this book to be a manual for everyone to be able to harness their focus, their memory, their ability to read faster, their ability to solve problems, and really achieve the life that they desire and really deserve.
So let me ask you this. I am a new subscriber to the Jim Quick Limitless Strategies, but I did do a little work on understanding, you know, what you do and how you've done it. One of the people that I look up to as kind of like a guide is a old, you know, 18th century monk called Balthazar Grazian. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he wrote a book called The Art of Worldly Wisdom. And he talks about having great self-peace, strength, and confidence through humility, by always knowing you need to learn more, and then you'll always be learning. And if you ground everything you do in the fact that you're never the best, but you're striving to be the best, you'll always have something to work forward towards. I think quarantine made many people question even themselves, even people with great drives like myself, just day after day after day being grounded to loneliness, darkness, uncertainty. When will this end? What can people do, Jim, aside from, of course, go out and buy Limitless, Jim Quick's newest book, but what could they do, you know, as quarantine comes to a close to start to clarify themselves to go out and kill it again?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love the philosophy, you know, working hard and humility, always learning, so we could be able to grow and expand. That if you want your bank account to grow, your business to grow, your brand to grow, that we need to grow individually. And so how can we do that while we are cocooning? The profound symbol of transformation is that of a butterfly, right? We feel like we're going through a transformation. While the beauty is in the butterfly, the growth happens in the cocoon. It's the struggle for the caterpillar, that creature, to come out, that it builds the wings so it could fly and soar to new heights. So how can you come out of this stronger, wiser, and better? In the book, I quote a French philosopher that says, life is the C between B and D. How's that? Life is the C between B and D. B is birth, D is death, and C is choice. These difficult times can define us, these difficult times can diminish us, or these difficult times can develop us. Ultimately, we decide. So a few things that people could do, choices, decisions they can make while they are cocooning. You're right, we're alone with our thoughts, we're alone with our fears, we might be feeling alone. Here are 5 quick things, and they could apply towards your brain or your business, your life. 5, I'll make them C's so they're really easy to remember. The first thing is clarity. I believe clarity is power, but sometimes when you're driving and you're racing your car through life, you don't take a pause to ask yourself, am I really going in the right direction? So this global pause is a wonderful time to self-reflect. I think solitude is a wonderful time to check in with yourself and ask this power question, which is, what's most important to me in life? What's most important to me in my career? What's most important to me in my investments? What's most important to me in my relationships? What's most important to me? Just fill in the blank. And there you are going to have your values that you're driving towards, right? Dr. Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says you don't want to get really efficient in climbing the ladder of success and make it all the way to the top and realize the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. So clarify your values. And the second thing you want to do, the second question I would recommend is this. After you know what's most important to you in life, ask yourself, what are my actions aligned with those values? Because if you are self-sabotaging, sometimes you're doing things that aren't aligned with the things that you hold most dear. A lot of people complain nowadays about being burnt out because they're doing too much. Often I find you're not burnt out because you're doing too much. Often people are burnt out because they're doing too little of the things that make them feel alive, the things that they value the most. So that's the C, is clarity. The second C I would say is care, meaning self-care is not selfish. And I don't just mean physical hygiene, 6 feet, wash your hands, sanitize things, but also your mental hygiene. Monitor what you're putting inside of your mind, because chronic stress shrinks your brain. Chronic fear actually makes you more susceptible to colds and flus and viruses. It's a whole area of science called psychoneuroimmunology. And so make sure you're controlling the input. And so you're balancing out some of the things that are all threatening and scary and dark with things that are positive, things that you're grateful for, things that are opportunity, things that you can focus on. And in the book, we talk about the best brain foods. We talk about optimizing your sleep, all the things you could do to care for your brain. Third C that could help you along so you can come out stronger and better and be that metaphorical butterfly, is contribution. We know chronic fear, the detrimental effects it has on our life and the stress. The antidote to fear, I find, is service. And so contribution is, how can you invest some of your time, your talent, your treasure to making a difference right now? And it can be as simple as checking in on a neighbor that might be a little elderly, might be a little bit more vulnerable. For me, we're donating 100% of the profits, the proceeds actually, for the book to build schools for children in need, to take care of their education, healthcare, and clean water, and also Alzheimer's research, because I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's. So that's contribution. And then finally, the fourth and fifth C, I would say that you can make choices on. The fourth C is creativity. I believe the future belongs to the creatives. Where jobs are being automated, they're going to machines, artificial intelligence. What's not going to be outsourced are the things that are truly limitless. Limitless is not about being perfect. It's about advancing and progressing beyond what you believe is possible. And the limitless resource on the planet is our mind. It's not the sky's the limit. Our minds are the limit. So there's no limit to your creativity. There's no limit to your imagination. There's no limit to our ability to solve problems. There's no limit to human determination. And so I believe the future belongs to the creatives. An example of that is even going through history. It was during the Great Plague that Shakespeare created some of his most amazing works of literature. Macbeth, he wrote Antony and Cleopatra during the Great Plague. It was during the plague where they shut down London, the university, where Isaac Newton had to go home and physically distance himself. Apple fell on his head, and he came up with created the theories of motion, the theories of gravity. And I'm not saying we have to create at that level, but what do we always want to create? A new business, an invention, and writing a book, music. How can we create our things in our life? And then finally, the fifth C, clarity, care, contribution, creativity, capability. Yep. Meaning you have your to-do list, but what's on your to-learn list? And now we have unfeathered access through podcasts, through about YouTube to learn Spanish, speed reading, salsa, everything is there. And I would say the most important skill to master in the 21st century in a world of epic change and disruption, your ability to learn faster. And that's really what the book is all about, how to learn, how to learn. and that's a
All right.
serious.
Well, I wish I had more time, but we got to have you back because I got to learn how to do some speed reading. I'm always getting books, and then I have to breeze through them and find some quick points. But we're out of time. But thank you very much, Jim Quick, author of Limitless. He's the best-selling author. Go out and get the book and find out how to make yourself smart and how to read fast and all that good stuff. Jim, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being there, but don't go anywhere. We got one little segment left, and you're going to love it.
Joseph Biden may have more explaining to do. The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
And I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Joe Biden was victimized by the truth.
Bye-bye Biden. He may not know it yet, but I think this is going to be very difficult for him to recover.
Is Joe Biden dead meat, yes or no?
I think so.
Bob?
It's in terminal condition.
Terminal. Eleanor?
Yes, unless he comes in third in Iowa.
Morton?
Dying.
I say dead.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
Well, it looks like we did it again. Breezed right through 2 hours to kick off the week, and a whopper of a show for a Money Monday. Kicked it off with Fernando Uribe, and Karen Turk came and went behind the headlines, and she's killing it, exposing how George Soros is the puppet master behind all of these crazy organizations. She's even got some video out there of her interviewing a protester who admits he's getting paid to protest. So go check out Behind the Headlines TV on YouTube if you want to see that video. We talked about how the Lucky Charms guy is under attack right now, and you know how all these monuments are coming down. I actually trying to figure out why this mayor in Newark decided that it was okay. Ras Baraka decided it was okay to lie to his constituents, and Johnny Huber saying, let us know when we need him on. We need him on soon. Jennifer Borg-Cuevas is there. She's no longer the New York State spokesperson for Parents Against Distance Learning. She was not getting the type of feedback she wanted, and I think that's a good choice. You know, when you get in these big groups, 10,000, 15, 20,000 people, there's a lot of voices, a lot of chefs in the kitchen, too many Indians and spoil the stew, whatever they say, you know, not enough chiefs. But thank you, John. Now, this guy, Ras Baraka, is the mayor of Newark, okay? And the local Italian-American Foundation heard that he was going to take down the Columbus statue, and then they got an uprising. They had people surrounded. You're not taking down our Columbus. And then they had a bunch of conversations with the mayor, and Mayor Baraka continues to lie to them and say, no, we're not taking it down. They smelt a rat. They knew what was going on. They still surrounded the thing. They camped out all night, and sure enough, at 2 o'clock in the morning, a group of the mayor's henchmen show up to take down the statue. So they take the statue down, and you know, it's all done under the cover of night. It's really dirty dealing. He lied to the local organization. It was a gift that was given to them, and many people may not know this, but you know, back in the industrial age when America was really coming into their own, Newark was really like the capital of the world. It was the center hub of commerce, like in the world, especially in the U.S., because it was one of the only places in America that had airport, seaport, and train connections all in the same place. So all cargo and all economy and all commerce came out of Newark, and it was built. Brick walls and buildings and cobblestone streets and all this stuff was built at the hands of many hard-working Italian men who came from Italy and settled in Newark because there were jobs for masons, and Italians were known to be great masons. And Newark should have a Christopher Columbus statue, okay? And now they don't. And just for a little fun, I'm going to call the Newark mayor's office right now live on air and see if anyone answers there. And this is just a general line, but I want to see if we can get to the bottom of it. And if they don't answer, then, you know, we'll call back and, you know, maybe Tom, who's helping with the show, could track this guy down. Or...
Mayor Ras J. Baraka's office is not available. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Yes, this is John Tobacco. We're live on air at Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. We are calling to speak to Mayor Baraka, and we would like to get a comment from him on why he lied to his constituents and took down the Christopher Columbus statue in the dark of night. It's tricky, it's sneaky, it's not right. Christopher Columbus is a great sign to Italian Americans for many, many years, and we do not think that Mayor Baraka should be calling balls and strikes on statues to great Italian-American heroes. We would appreciate a call back, and we will continue to keep calling until we hear back from the mayor. Speak to you soon. All right, well, I left a message at the mayor's office. They're not answering. It only rang twice, so they must be really up to their neck in ripping down statues over there in Newark. But, you know, and by the way, when I was talking about how, you know, turn of the century Newark was one of the most hopping places around. You know how it turned into such a terrible town? It's because years and years and years of a democratic machine who was more caught up in bribes, waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption than keeping Newark the great place it once was. So, and by the way, Cory Booker, a.k.a. Senator Spartacus, was at one point the mayor of Newark, and he didn't do a heck of a lot to uplift that place to its once place of greatness. And it seems like Ras Baraka now is already giving in to the liberal mob, the Antifa, the Black Lives, and pulling down statues of Christopher Columbus is really irking me. It's really like a thorn in my side, and. You know what? We're going to stay on top of some of this stuff. I guess, you know, regular people think that when is it enough? I mean, you know, who do they come for next? It's hard to even tell who they're going to come for next because, you know, last week this guy, Shaun King, this big Black Lives Matter guy, was saying we got to take down Jesus statues. And, you know, where does it end? That's the question. You know, I think if the crowd out there who wants to see changes in policing, they want to see income equality, they want to see social justice. I think they should keep their message focused on that. Maybe put some pressure on their Democratic leaders in Congress who won't come together with the Senate Republicans and bring a bill forward that at least starts the ball rolling on police reform. And instead, they're taking it to the next of next levels, defund the police. And I'm seriously thinking about starting one of these GoFundMe pages to defund de Blasio. And my point is, if we get a GoFundMe with enough dough in it, maybe we can send somebody to lay it on Andrew Cuomo's doorstep as a nice big fat bribe, which, you know, it's been alleged he's taken before, or at least some of his right-hand men have been jailed for bribery. And maybe he'll remove de Blasio from office because that's the only way it can happen here in New York. But in New Jersey, they have something called a recall where the voters can recall a mayor and call for a new election. I don't know if they have that in Newark, but maybe we got to recall Ras Baraka We'll recall you to be here again tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.